Hello and welcome to Good Morning UK. Have your say. A Force for Good's mid-morning show coming to you live from our nerve centre here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow. With me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. Broadcasting across all our platforms, Facebook, Twitter and YouTube to potentially 6 billion people worldwide. And this morning we are walking on sunshine, ooh, we're walking on sunshine, ooh, and don't it make you feel good? And if you feel good, please do tell us. Please tell us where you're viewing from, where you are watching from, and what's on your mind, because this is the place where you can seek some solace from the craziness of the world out there and the craziness of rubbish programs like Good Morning Britain. Oh my goodness me, I checked in on it this morning and I'm so glad that I didn't. Not good for your health. Debbie, good morning to you, and Barry, how are you this morning, Barry? Deborah says, good morning. Nice to see you here, Deborah. Adam, good to see you as always. And Alan also. And also to Derek and Barry. Good stuff. And Ben, always viewing from Dundee, Ben. And good luck with the competition today, which will be coming up at 1:45 Hi, Margaret. And also at the top of the hour at 11, we have an interview with one of the AFFG team members. That's Richard, who'll be popping in for 20 minutes to tell us about his work with A Force for Good. So we're really looking forward to that interview. Richard is a great unionist thinker and activist. Hi, Mark. Rule Britannia, absolutely, and we can still say Rule Britannia on this platform, that's for sure. Frankie, good to see you. And Ibrox Park there. And Sandra also watching in, and Sheila and Ryan. Good stuff, good stuff. Ryan from God's own country of Yorkshire, and Dottie from County Tyrone. Love your work, thank you. And we love all our supporters, Dottie. Thank you for these positive comments this morning. Now, what's on your mind this morning? What's on our mind very much is exactly what Tommy asked. What's Humza up to now with Bern Hussies? I don't know about that. I only heard about that this morning. Do you know, Tommy, or anybody, what that is about? We just saw that mentioned, but we didn't have time to look into it. If you can tell us what that is about, we'd like to know. But on our mind every day now is the fact that this is 29 days to go to the great Scottish ejection, which is going to be on Thursday the 6th of May, and that is the day that we're going to purge the Sturge. Okay, we're going to purge the Sturge, and that can be done. It can be done. If she loses her seat in Glasgow South Side, she's out of the Parliament. Similarly, if we get Humza out of Glasgow Pollock, then he's out of the Parliament as well. What an upset for the books that would be. And you know, nothing is impossible, and if we don't talk about it, it's never going to happen. So you heard it here first. We're going to purge the Sturge, and we're going to get Humza out. We're going to give Humza the heave, and we have dedicated ourselves to that task between now and Thursday the 6th of May. And some of you will have been watching our broadcasts on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays and Fridays from the constituency of Glasgow Pollock, where we travel about this constituency here in the heart of Union City, Glasgow, and we emphasise for people to register to vote and to get out and vote, because as we know, Humza only got elected in 2016 because nobody voted. Over half the people in Glasgow Pollock did not vote in 2016, okay? So we need to get everybody who doesn't approve of his actions, we need to get them out to vote, okay? So you've got until Monday the 19th of April to register to vote on that website, register-to-vote, okay? And if you know guys or friends or acquaintances or relations who are not registered to vote, whether in Glasgow Pollock or elsewhere, please do get them to that website. Help them if necessary, even if you want to sit with them and do it, okay? Just to get them registered to vote, because this is their chance to make an impact and to change things. And, you know, the turnout at Scottish elections is consistently dismal. And this is an important point to note, is that which is that engagement at the Scottish level is much less than engagement at the British level. Turnouts to the Scottish Parliament are always in the low 50s. In fact, the average is, over the last 5 elections to Holyrood, the average turnout was 53%. Okay, that's dismal. There's basically nobody's interest is what that means. Whereas the turnout at British Westminster elections is 2/3, 66%. And we have got that made clear in our latest edition of Union Heart, and that's for Union supporters, people who donate monthly. You get that free of charge if you request it. But seriously, turnout is abysmal at Scottish elections, because it's like nobody's interested. Now, TC says the fight back is well and truly on now. I think that it is. I think there is a sea change. There is a sea change. There's people beginning to wake up and realise that if things are to change, then they've got to get out and they've got to vote. And some people advocate voting tactically on the first ballot paper, and that's certainly an option as well, to vote for the person most likely to beat the Scottish nationalists. And we also say to the Scottish nationalists, you know, there's a lot that they're doing, a lot that, for example, Humza is doing and others are doing that is really, really bad for Scotland. And if you're a patriotic Scot, then how can you support that? Okay, how can you support that? How can you support what they're doing to Scotland? And if you can't bring yourself, if you're a Scottish nationalist and you can't bring yourself to vote for any other party, then simply sit on your hands. Don't vote at all. Because if you do vote, all you're doing is encouraging these people. And so don't encourage them. If you're a Scottish nationalist, please, if you don't approve of Humza's anti-free speech law, if you don't approve of all the weird, woke, radical things that they're doing, then don't vote for them. You will have other options on your ballot paper. In Humza's seat in Glasgow Pollock, there's 2 other parties standing that support Scottish independence. So why don't you vote for them? Just don't vote for Humza, because that's only rewarding him for what he has done and what he is doing to this country. And we know that he and the top brass in the Scottish National Party are aware that they are losing support among some of the people, and that they are losing support even to Alex Salmond's party, and they are panicking, because if people sit on their hands and don't vote for Humza and don't vote for Sturgeon and then vote for Alex Salmond's party, well, goodness me, what a turn up for the books that would be. You'd have Humza out, you'd have Sturgeon out, and you might even have Alex Salmond back in the Scottish Parliament again. What crazy times we live in. As the Chinese says, let us live in interesting times. And we certainly do live in interesting times. And our message to you is, don't be downhearted, because whatever happens is going to be a new day tomorrow, and we're going to keep fighting the good fight and fighting for what we absolutely believe in, which is, of course, that the United Kingdom is the best for us all. As we say, we as Unionists believe that all of the United Kingdom belongs to all of us in it. Okay, we don't see England or Wales or Northern Ireland as foreign countries, but believe me, the Scottish nationalists do see England as a foreign country. There's no question about that. You know, they really do. So many of them do, which, when you think about it, is absolutely crazy. On this tiny island, several of which would fit into the entire state of Texas. Isn't it crazy, but also amazing that the British, through time, have developed all these different political strands to make the British Isles one of the most complex political entities on earth. And in some ways, we're better for it as well. You know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But at the end of the day, it's the United Kingdom which brings us all together and allows all these complex and often conflicting strands to, in fact, mesh in relative harmony. What's annoying you this morning, folks? Okay, I mean, I just watched Good Morning Britain, and there's enough on there to annoy you for a lifetime, and that's just in one programme. It's just poison, absolute poison. I mean, you turn it on and they're talking about racism in football, right? That's like the thing that we've never stopped hearing about now. So they've got an entire segment on that, and then they've got some women talking about attacking the Union flag, and then they've got another segment about the necessity for everybody to be vaccinated. I mean, the whole thing was just like poison from beginning to end, poison. And this is going out into your house, into millions of people's houses every morning. I mean, no wonder the country's in a state if that's the sort of terrible, terrible propaganda. Nothing less than propaganda. Believe me, folks, the system propagandizes you through television. I've realised that when I was very young, you know. It's through television that the system keeps control of our minds. So you have to switch television off, and you have to seek other things. You know, Peter Simple said it would be better. This was a journalist back in the 70s and 80s. He said it would be better to cut your buttons off your shirt and then sew them back on again, instead of watching television. And I never forgot that quote, and I thought, you know, he's bang on the money there. Bang on the money. Here's Samuel says, what's being done to Scotland is scandalous. My nan came from Annan in Scotland. Annan, what's that? And my gramp was from England. They met and married during the war, and they would be appalled, I have no doubt. Do you mean Aaron? I don't know, Samuel. SNP, 14 years getting it wrong and 14 years passing the buck. The voters must see sense or we are scuppered. Well, yeah, even if they got back in again, you know, as I say, we keep fighting the good fight, and we will win. We will win at the end of the day, because we've got right on our side. Frankie says the Nats are brainwashed on independence in the EU. They certainly are. I mean, imagine wanting to leave the United Kingdom, with whom you do the majority of your trade, for the EU, with whom you do far less trade. It's incredible. Good for Debbie, she says, I've stopped watching a lot of TV now. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because things go into your, when you watch it, things go into your head very quickly, and it's only afterwards that you think, what was he talking about there, you know? Well, Kenny says, I don't understand why they don't make more of the fiscal argument and let the folk of Scotland know how much independence would cost each individual. Some folk do try to do that. There's a very good campaigning group called These Islands. They concentrate on all of the fiscal thing, all of the tax and thereabouts. Just checking our guest is okay. Yeah, our guest is coming in. Folks, this day in British history, not a lot happened on the 7th of April in the thousands of years that have gone before, which I find unusual, but so it seems. I could only find two things that happened on this day in British history. One of them, would you believe, is Humza Yousaf's birthday. 7th of April today. He was born in 1985, so this guy's only 36 years old. Yeah, 36 years old. Goodness sake. It just shows you how quickly you can progress if you get into the SNP. Oh, man. I mean, isn't that amazing, right? The Injustice Secretary at 36 years old, right? Who would have thought it? They really do get you young in the SNP, that's for sure, and shove you right into these top positions while you're still in your 20s. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The other thing on this day in British history, which is also related to the SNP, is it was the day, right, in 1934 that the SNP was actually formed. Okay, so that was maybe an unfortunate day in British history on the 7th of April 1934. And it was formed by the amalgamation of the National Party of Scotland and the Scottish Party. And its first programme said, quote, "The object of the party is self-government for Scotland on a basis which will enable Scotland as a partner in the British Empire, with the same status as England, to develop its national life to the fullest advantage." I find that quite interesting. They wanted self-government for Scotland on a basis which will enable Scotland as a partner in the British Empire. So the old boys back in those days saw Scotland within the concept of the British Empire as a separate country within the British Empire. So they were kind of almost traditional in a way on those sorts of things, although that very quickly got knocked out of them as time went on. And of course it was during the 60s and 70s when the SNP moved from being that sort of, for want of a better expression, traditional party to being really quite a radical party, which it is essentially today. Now I see our guest is in the waiting room and we'll be bringing him on in 10 minutes. Now, folks, did anybody see this particular picture? I'm just going to share it. No, I'm not. I'm just going to bring it up here. It was Nicola Sturgeon being interviewed beside this poster. And basically, she... it went quite viral because she was standing on a wee box. And the reason she was standing on a wee green box was to enable her to be raised up enough so that her head fitted in the same frame as the poster in the background. But this is the SNP slogan which they're promoting and which they're using, probably right up until the Great Scottish Ejection on the 6th of May. And it says, Scotland's future is Scotland's choice and nobody else's. Now, they ran a party political broadcast yesterday using this very slogan. So this is what they're really pushing, is the idea that it's Scotland's choice and nobody else's. In other words, if Scotland wants to break up the United Kingdom, then it's nobody else's business. And that is actually not correct, okay? Now, if you imagine the union, for example, like a marriage, breaking that up is a sad thing, but it should be both people's choice. Now, we have reached a stage in society where, in fact, you can break up something without the other person agreeing. And many people, including myself, think that's morally wrong because both partners are involved. However, that attitude has also translated now into the political world, so that somebody like Sturgeon can say that Scotland can go its own way and can break up the family regardless of what the rest of the family thinks, regardless of what England, Wales or Northern Ireland want to do. So it's actually an immoral position to believe that in a situation that we are in a union, that we can just do what we want without regard to the other people who are involved in this union. Okay? Morally, everybody is involved in this. Okay? So morally, everybody has to have a say in some way. And how, in this instance, do they have that say? Well, they have that say. The rest of the British people have that say through their representatives in the United Kingdom Parliament. And so it's through the British Parliament that the rest of the United Kingdom has a say in the matter. If one of the members wants to go its own way, all the others have a say through the mechanism of the British Parliament. That's the correct constitutional way of looking at it. And it so happens that Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister of the British Parliament, and so it falls upon him, whatever one may think of Boris Johnson, it falls upon him to try to hold the family together, to try to hold the United Kingdom together. And he has a perfect right to do that. The British Prime Minister, whoever he or she may be, has a perfect right and indeed a responsibility and duty to hold the United Kingdom together and to prevent anything that might try to break up that family. Okay, so when Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP posture and say, going our own way is our own business and nobody else's, no, they are wrong. They are wrong to say that, because we live in a United Kingdom and it is everybody's business what happens in the United Kingdom, if you believe in the United Kingdom in the first place. And we touched on this, well, we've touched on it several times, and in one of our articles which we just published last month called Holyrood is not the place to seek a second indie ref mandate. Go to our site, aforceforgood.uk/blog, and we talk about that there. We talk about how it's everybody's business what happens in the United Kingdom. And in any case, Holyrood is a devolved parliament. It is essentially an arm of the wider British Parliament, and it's not at Holyrood that you seek the mandate to break up the UK. If you want to do something as terrible as break up the UK, then it's at the British parliamentary level that you seek that mandate, i.e. through a British general election. And you would have to seek that mandate by standing as abstentionists and getting elected as abstentionists. And if somehow you manage to pull that off, then we could think about talking about another referendum. But until then, it's just hot air, and that needs to be made clear by us all, and that's something that we do our best to try to make clear. Hey, good morning, Linda. Good morning to see you in again. Lovely. Wondered where you were there. Missed your message right at the start. Missed that there. Thanks. Good to see you. Okay, in 2 or 3 minutes we're going to bring in our guest. Yeah, we agree, Frankie. United Kingdom is stronger together. And Elizabeth echoes what many of us think. Please don't allow the SNP, Nicola Sturgeon, to ruin Scotland anymore. Yeah. Well, Ryan makes an interesting point about whether or not devolution is compatible with the Act of Union. And of course, if Scottish independence happened, it would be against the rest of Britain's will, as AR Entertainment points out. Aye, absolutely. These are the dangers. But we must speak the truth and continue to speak the truth, and the truth will prevail. And folks, if you're watching, please do share this video on Facebook. Please do retweet it. If you retweet it with a quote tweet and put in a positive comment, then we will retweet that tweet. We will retweet you to over 26,000 people. Okay, so please do retweet with a positive comment, and we'll retweet you to over 26,000 people and help that way to get your followers up. And if you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button, and also if you're not subscribing, please do subscribe. I'm glad to say that we've got guests lined up now for the next 4 weeks, right up until the election. And also, we're going to be out on the 1st of May, which is Union Day. 1st of May, 1707, when the Union of Parliaments came together. We're going to be out in George Square with a counter-presence against all under one banner people who are going to be having an anti-British rally. So we're going to be out there on the 1st of May. If you want to join us, please message the page and we'll stay in touch with you. But we're preparing for that and we're looking forward to that. Now, I'm going to bring in a fantastic bloke that we will speak more about how we met. And Richard is our political outreach administrator, and Richard will talk more about what he actually does, and he's a key member of our official AFFG team. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Richard at the top of the hour.
Hello there.
Hello, Richard. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you fine. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
If you sit just a little bit closer to the
mic,
so we can
yes.
hear you.
Can you hear me not bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, Richard, tell us about how you came to know about A Force for Good.
Well, I just came across it really after the referendum, when worrying things were happening, because paradoxically, although the SNP lost the referendum, they seem to have been boosted by it. I don't know whether David Cameron had that in mind when he decided to have a referendum, but anyway, I was probably online in various unionist groups, and then I came across one of your articles about 20 lessons to be learned from the official and unofficial campaigns, referendum campaigns, and I thought it was very impressive. I thought it was this is the kind of stuff we need. So I started sending some of these items to various politicians, and then I eventually got in touch with you at some stage. I realised the work that you were involved in. I came across your website, so I got in touch with you, and we decided to cooperate. I would be involved in contacting politicians mainly by post and other means as well. And not just politicians, anyone who showed an interest in unionist, in defending the union, like journalists and others, So that's how it happened.
That's right. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that article, which was 20 lessons. I can't remember what it was. It's on the old Legacy website. It's still up there. 20 lessons
to be learned
to be learned, and it was basically
from the official and unofficial.
Yeah, things that were done right and things that were done wrong. And whenever I reread that, I don't really have much to add to that. It was a very comprehensive article, and it really did point out the extent to which our people did so much wrong. I mean, so much wrong to the point of giving the Scottish nationalists so much ammunition. Especially with the so-called vow at the end of the day.
Well, I tended to feel in 2015 as well, people like Cameron and others, once they'd fulfilled the vow through the Smith Commission, they felt that was all they needed to do, really. Well, I'm not saying generally, no doubt there were politicians taking a keen interest in the union, but you got the impression that once they'd fulfilled this vow, which the SNP were quite happy with, that would be it, and they don't need to do very much after that. And then they got distracted, of course, which is a very important matter. They got distracted by Brexit and everything else, and So we've been sending them material since at least, as myself as part of A Force for Good, have been sending them material since at least 2017. That's
yes. For example, if we see opinion formers, journalists, or anybody like that we think that person might be sympathetic to what we're saying, you'll send them a copy of the wee book or a copy of Union Heart or something like that.
And
in addition to you doing that sort of work, you also have been helping us with certain articles. You wrote an article which appeared on our Legacy site back in, must have been about 2017, about the British Armed Forces. Would you like to just elaborate on what you were saying there as far as it relates to what you've just said?
I was just saying there was a cultural aspect to the armed forces that helped to... obviously, the armed forces, so the first purpose is to defend the realm, but there is a cultural aspect which shouldn't be forgotten, which maybe helps to bind the country together by the more visible the armed forces, especially the army regiments are. The more people are inspired in their sense of Britishness and their sense of loyalty to the country, and maybe when we reduce the army to like in Scotland, we reduced all the infantry regiments to one regiment. We maybe lose something, not just in terms of the defence of the realm, but also in terms of binding the country together. That's basically what I was saying. So
exactly.
I would have preferred to see. I mean, I know I'm not quite. Obviously, there's technical reasons why military decisions are made, but I was a bit surprised to see why Boris Johnson's spending extra money on nuclear weapons. Although we've got nuclear weapons and hopefully they work fine, but he's spending extra money on nuclear weapons while reducing the army. I think that's a bit disappointing, really, from a unionist perspective. But he is trying to invest in various military aspects of the military in Scotland, anyway. But I think that's an important part of what binds us together as a nation. Our sense of history and connection with the military, and our sense of the fact that we've all parts of the country, all parts of the United Kingdom take part in the military.
Yes. And just as an example, which you also touched on in that article, which we'll put up, is just simple things like Armed Forces Day. We used to have an Armed Forces Day here in the centre of Glasgow, but it's been, in the last 4 years even, it's been downgraded, and there wasn't one last year for various obvious reasons with the COVID carry-on. But even the year before that, it was very much downgraded. Whereas, in fact, these things are amazingly good public relations, and they're worth every penny that they so-called cost.
Yeah.
So, these are the cultural element of these things are so important. You also wrote an article which is on our newest site, which was Unionist Politicians, It's Time to Get the Finger Out. And you talked in there about the importance of what we might call unionist vision.
Yes.
Which is do they have a vision of things?
Yes. Yes. I sometimes maybe occasionally get a wee bit exasperated when I don't see them always responding. But I think in recent months we've been seeing some of our ideas being taken up. For instance, you wrote an article called 12 Suggestions, and one of them was to build up the Scottish office in Scotland, and now they've got a big hub now in Edinburgh, and they're going to build a hub in Glasgow, and they're also bypassing the executive in giving money to various projects in Scotland, and they're hoping to, well, at least they're going to have the Union Jack on every government building in Scotland. I don't know how many government buildings there are in Scotland, but they're going to have the Union Jack on every government building in Scotland and throughout the United Kingdom, hopefully. So they are understanding various things. I mean, we've sent the wee book. If people are concerned that AFFG isn't getting its message through, I mean, we've sent the wee book to a good number of the members of the cabinet. And so if they're not, the message is there for them to pick up if they're, of the best kind of unionist think tank thinking. It's there for them if they want to pick it up and do something, proactive for the strengthening of Britain.
That's right. That's right. And you have been at the forefront of getting those books out, getting the copies of Union Heart out, and even just as what you do as well is just printing out articles and sending them hard copy to the various politicians and opinion formers. And we at A Force for Good, we don't want any. We don't want people to say it was us that did it or anything like that.
No,
that's the word I'm trying to seek. We don't care. We just want to get that message out there.
We don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter if they acknowledge A Force for Good. That's totally irrelevant.
Totally.
We just want to see our country brought together and strengthened and promoted, and nationalism defeated. Basically, we're just an agency, really, to do that.
That's right. That's right. Do you know, I was just doing a wee bit of research, and I noticed that this time 2 years ago, on the 7th of April, I actually, on Facebook, we actually quoted something that you had written to us, and I just want to quote it here because I think it sums it up very well. And you said, how can we fight something with nothing? How can we fight 11 years so far of SNP cultural and social propaganda for a separate Scotland without cultural and social propaganda for Scotland as an integral part of Britain?
Yes.
If the general trajectory of people's hopes and aspirations are deflected from Britain, then we still have a movement ultimately towards independence. How many of those who voted yes have been won back or even rendered neutral? How many are instilling separatism in the hearts of their children?
Yeah.
How can division in Scotland be healed in favour of Britain? The unionist politicians don't seem to have a clue. Now, you must have written this about 3 years ago, and at that time you were correct. The unionist politicians did not have a clue, and they weren't interested, and they were totally asleep on the job. But as we've just been saying there, as a consequence of that, as a consequence of you and me meeting, and as a consequence of you being able to just put out a lot of stuff, I mean, people don't know how much you send out every week, then, we're getting through. We're getting through.
Yeah.
And so, as you
I think part of it might have been they were partly distracted by Brexit, but having said that, as an organisation, we're happy with Brexit, but they have to concentrate also on defeating the SNP, and now they seem to be getting on message a lot better than they were,
Yes,
good.
Absolutely. On message a lot more, and realising that this isn't a game. The United Kingdom has been here for hundreds of years, but that doesn't mean that it's going to continue to be here as if by magic. Nations are only held together, as you've been very good in your articles and pointing out, through the social and cultural bonds which are continuously called to memory and continuously acted out.
They have to be renewed. They have to be renewed, and if certain areas are not renewed, that there can be a weakness there, and so all these things have to be renewed, and people have to be reminded of our history and of our culture, the things that unite us.
Well, talking about culture and the things that go with culture, you're also a musician as well, aren't you? Do you want to just tell us about that?
Well, I'm a piper, yes, and they are musicians. Some of them are very great musicians. I don't know. I'm not. Yes, I do enjoy playing the pipes. I haven't had them out very much lately, but yes, I've been playing the pipes since my teenage years, and I do have one or two tunes that are probably recognisable to folk from A Force for Good.
Well, I won't ask you to play the pipes in your room, but do you have your chanter with you?
Yeah, I've got my practice chanter here. We decided not to use the pipes because it wasn't coming over very well on the mic. But
okay, well, give us a blast.
Yeah, well, the various tunes. I mean, there's lots of pipe tunes that are that are about British battles and that kind of thing. So I'll briefly play one called the Highland Brigade at Magersfontein, just briefly, which was a battle in the Boer War in 1899, and then I'll play a tune you don't often hear on the pipes, which is Rule Britannia,
yes,
which we all know, and then Dad's Army.
Fantastic. So, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Folks, this is a first. All right, now let's see a Rule Britannia. Fantastic! Well done. Well, folks, you haven't heard that before. That was Rule Britannia with a bit of Dad's Army, finishing with Rule Britannia as well. Richard, you're very talented on that. I'm telling you, we need to get you on the thin red line with your pipes blasting.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. I'll get them printed out. I've got software for printing out pipe music. I'll get them printed out so they could be on the website if any other pipers wants to make use of them, you know.
Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. We can put that information.
We might make a recording on the pipes as well for your thin red line. You know, a nice proper recording. So we'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you made a recording, we can plug that. If you're not there in person, we can plug it into the back of the PA system and blast it out that way. Well, you've got a lot of people there coming in saying well done.
Oh, it's
brilliant.
Right.
Lots of claps there. Tommy saying lovely music. Thank you for your insights, Richard.
Yeah, all right.
We're 1 minute over. 11:21.
Yeah.
Time to say goodbye. We're going to get you on again with some of your fantastic music.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you very much for your insights and thank you very much for all the hard work that you do. You're one of a very hard-working team.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege, really, although you wouldn't want to, you'd rather that this had never happened and this ridiculous Nat insurgence had never happened, but in a sense it's a privilege to defend your country in one sense or another. So,
Indeed, Richard.
Right.
Indeed. And thank you for that very original piece of that original musical interlude. Thank you for that. We'll speak again.
Okay.
Bye now.
Right. Cheerio.
Fantastic stuff there from Richard Tallach, our bagpipe playing political outreach administrator. Now, while that was going on, two people reminded me that we hadn't done our competition yet. Well, we've got 10 minutes still to go, 7 minutes still to go of the programme. So the competition this week is for this little badge, which is the AFFG flag badge, and it says, it's a little Union heart that says a force for good through the middle of it, and that's worth a £5, and we'll put the link in the shop up there and you can buy it for a £5, or you can see if you can win this competition today on the 7th. And if you do want to enter this competition, you want to fire off your answer, please, to this email, contact@forceforgood.uk, and in a few minutes I'll find out who has given the right answer. Sorry I did not do this competition at 2 minutes to 11 as I normally do. Went totally out my head. For this little badge, which is worth a £5, the AFFG Heart Badge, on this day, which British political party was established? On this day, on the 7th of April 1934, which British political party was established? Yeah, and the world was never the same since, that's for certain. Yeah, okay, so that was great. See what we do here at A Force for Good. We have the most talented people, the most wonderful people. And everybody's got something to contribute, and Richard contributes a lot to the cause. A great, great British patriot. Hey, Ibrox Park's enjoying Wednesday. He goes, A Force for Good in the morning, and then the UK column and Unity News Network twice. What more could you ask for? Indeed, these are all great sources of information. And on the 21st of April, we're going to have Oliver Dowden from UNN, who's going to be our guest on the 21st of April. That's 2 weeks from now. I'm looking forward to that. And then next week, we've got a fantastic bloke who is a great supporter of AFFG and has also written a book on Brexit. That's Will Podmore next week. And then the week after that, we will have our AFFG Chief of Security, who will be briefing us on the event that we'll be doing on the 1st of May in George Square. If you want to join us at that, that's going to be a great day. That's going to be a great day. We're already preparing for that. We've got a new mic, which is the mic that Lemmy from Motorhead uses, so it has to be, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Going to get a good sound from that. And I'm working on a new song as well called We Are the UK, da-na-na-na-now, taken from Motorhead's We Are the Road Crew. I'm thinking, should it be We Are the Union or We Are the UK, da-na-na-na-now? Anyway, enough of that, but I'm going to write that wee tune up and might even get somebody to play it on the pipes. But can't wait to 1st of May. That's going to be so good because I've been dying to get back out again. Now, we do have a winner. And we do have a winner of our wee badge. Okay? Our wee badge. And I'm going to just put this up here. And our winner of our wee badge, who was first in, who answered the question correctly, which was, as he says, the SNP, unfortunately, were the party that were formed on this day back in 1934. And so this wee badge will be winging its way to you, Mr. Thomas Scott. Okay, Mr. Thomas Scott, this is going to you today. If we don't have your address, please do send that to us. And folks, thank you to the people who reminded me that I needed to put out the competition. I'd forgotten about that. So much to do here on with all these bells and whistles in front of me to coordinate everything. Now, let's just remind everybody that just something I wanted to mention, that what Richard was talking about there. We've written a letter to the Scottish Secretary to point out that, the 4th round of furlough payments are coming up this month, and literally billions of pounds are flowing from the HMRC website to people in Scotland. It was suggested to us this week that 7 billion has been spent in Scotland on furlough, and a lot of that will be via the self-employment support scheme, which tens of thousands of Scots will have been taking advantage of. However, for those who go onto the site, it's very easy to use, and it's basically it seems like free money from the British Treasury. But other than the initials HMRC, you wouldn't know that it's even a British website. It's just bland. It's just like a white piece of paper with black words on it. Click here, get your money. And we were saying that, let's see if I can actually bring up a picture of it. Yeah, this is what it looks like, okay? Claim a grant through the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme. Well, if you're like a Scottish nationalist and you're getting several £1,000s from that website, don't you think that website should at least brand itself with a Union Jack, or maybe some red, white and blue colours, or anything to suggest, hey, Mr. Scottish nationalist, this is money that's coming from the United Kingdom, okay? This is British Treasury money that you're getting. This is British Treasury largesse that's coming to Scotland. But there's nothing there that would suggest it. So we wrote a letter to the Scottish Secretary saying, can you rebrand that website? It's not going to take much to upload 1 or 2 graphics that emphasise that this is British Treasury money coming to you as a consequence of being part of the United Kingdom. You know, that's an easy thing to do, but they failed there. They failed. It's an easy thing to do. That's an easy win. Stick a Union Jack in the corner. An easy win for the United Kingdom there. Okay, so that was something that we've written to the government to get them to do. Okay, why should we have to tell them that? Okay, they talk about flying flags on buildings. It's a good idea. But how about flying it on your websites as well? Especially the websites that are giving billions of pounds to the rest of the United Kingdom. Okay? Just a thought there, which I wanted to raise as a consequence of the sort of thing we were talking there with our great guest, Richard Talloch. Folks, please share this if you can. Retweet this with a positive comment and we will retweet you to 26,000 people. And please share on Facebook. Now, tomorrow we're going to be out in the great British city of Glasgow, in the constituency of Glasgow Pollock, and we're going to be sticking it to Humza because we're going to get Humza out at the Great Scottish Ejection. And we're going to purge the Sturge. Okay, we're going to purge the Sturge on the 6th of May. And it's that thought that I will leave you. I will say to you, tune in tomorrow for a 15-minute broadcast from Glasgow Pollock. And then we'll be back here in the studio next Wednesday. Okay, so it just remains for me to say, God bless the United Kingdom and God save the Queen. Take care.